Reddit talks about America's problems a lot. As an American, what are some hot political issues in your country that we should know about? I am an American currently living abroad in Burkina Faso as a Peace Corps volunteer. The entire country is already talking about what will happen during the 2015 presidential elections. Blaise Compaoré, the current president, is not allowed to run again according to the current constitution. However, in the past, he has changed the constitution to allow himself to run again. Come 2015, Blaise has two options: to allow himself to run again or to get someone from his party, CDP, to win the election in his place. Blaise really wants his party to win the election, because the opposing party wants to try Blaise for war crimes if he loses. During the 1990s, Blaise's administration killed journalists that were investigating him, and there are non-official holidays that honor the journalists killed. Not to mention that Blaise came to power during a coup in which he killed his childhood friend Thomas Sankara. So this is what might happen in 2015. Blaise will announce that he will run again for president, which would lead to a lot of civil unrest and rioting. Blaise will handpick his successor, and if he wins but the election seemed rigged, there will be rioting and unrest. Or the new party wins the election, and Blaise is tried as a war criminal. The youth in this country hate Blaise, and they are the first African generation who have access to cell phones and are communicating with each other like never before in this country. Whereas the older generation is content with Blaise, they are not very political and their votes are bought by giving villagers free Blaise Compaoré t-shirts. I will be back in America by 2015, but I will closely be following the election from the States. Gambia, it is the smallest country in mainland Africa. We were among Africa's first democracies, but the country is turning into shit because of our president, Yahya Jammeh. Jammeh came to power in 1994 through a coup, and he uses the government like his personal bank account. The legislative and judiciary aren't even functional because he has the final say in everything. He's won all the elections with landslide victories because there's no transparency in our electoral system. He is not only corrupt but also inhumane and claims that he can cure AIDS, which has contributed to the rise in new transmissions. He basically throws anybody that says anything about him to jail. People live in a state of perpetual fear at all times. The standard of living is dwindling and poor people now are at least 10 times poorer than they were in the 90s. I just wish my country will go back to being the smiling coast of Africa. PM me about anything you want to know. We'll happily oblige. Canada, the big issue that's been everywhere lately is the Senate expense scandal. Canada has a Senate but it's appointed until you're 75. It's never really in the headlines, nobody really knows or cares about what it does, but 4 senators were caught overindulging in their travel and living expense budgets. One paid the money all back and then retired, so he was forgotten about. One of them was given a check by the former chief of staff to our PM, Harper, to cover the expense claims. The Harper government fired the chief of staff after this all came out. The senators either paid back the money or are in the process of doing it, and the Senate voted to suspend them all without pay, but with life insurance and additional health benefits. The Harper government has gone after their senators, all from their party, in an effort to dissociate the scandal from their party. It's basically renewed a debate in Canada about the purpose of the Senate and whether we even need to have one, or at least reform it. We don't vote for them, and it's largely been seen as a rubber stamp type of body. Nothing that passed the House of Commons would ever not pass the Senate for political reasons. Since so few Canadians seem to understand what they actually do besides cost us money, oversight, checks and balances, etc., there's quite a vigor renewed in the debate. Britain, we're going to have a referendum on whether we should stay in the EU. Which we should for a whole raft of economic and political reasons, but we won't because the debate is being forced by the tabloids who are very much fucking foreigners. Scotland is to have a referendum on independence about a year after this. Which they'd be mad not to take, as they can rejoin the EU and get rid of the Conservatives, our political right-wing party, who line up policy-wise with the Democrats. This will lead to England being right-wing pretty much forever and me moving to either Amsterdam or Edinburgh. Edit, I have a friend from Edinburghshire and I deliberately spell it incorrectly at every available opportunity to annoy him. Also, our Prime Minister is trying to get us to accept far worse internet laws than America has. All kinds of things, porn, drug information, esoteric content, are going to become opt-in, with the government able to keep lists of who wants what information. This could just be the beginning. Once people accept this, it'll be much easier to get them to accept other, more insane internet policies. Even worse, the government are trying to pass a bill that will let them keep tabs on anyone considered to be a potential sex offender, and anyone who breaches the terms, which include restrictions on internet use and a ban on traveling abroad, will be sent to jail for 5 years. It has no maximum duration, and it can be used on someone who hasn't been convicted of any crime. Source: along with rules allowing terrorist suspects to be detained without trial, things looks very bleak for the future of civil liberty in the UK. Also, both of these bills are all supposedly about protecting children, so if anyone tries to argue against them, they'll just be labeled as a pedophile. This is wrong. The UK will have a referendum on staying in the EU only if the Conservatives win the next election with a majority. The current government won't because the Liberal Democrats, who are in coalition with the Conservatives, would veto it. The referendum on Scottish independence is definitely happening next year, however. In Australia, our recently elected right-wing government is led by a climate change denier who is abolishing a carbon tax. Recently there were a series of extreme bushfires, and over 200 houses were lost. He accused a Greens party member of politicizing the disaster when he said that thanks to climate change we'll see more fires like it. As a Canadian, Australia always confuses me. Sometimes it seems so progressive, and who cares about things like Julia Gillard being an atheist, something that would never happen in a country like the US, even Canada maybe, and then you go and elect John Abbott. Germany reporting in. A Nazi terror group, Google, NSU Terror, killed several people over the course of several years. The whole affair and what's coming to light has shook the country pretty badly. The domestic secret service and the police utterly fucked that thing up.